Good morning. This is TJ McCormick in a nondescript location. And this morning, I've got the logo. Sing the word, TJ McCormick. Hair's a mess. Marilyn, you can give me hairdressing suggestions, but I may not take them because I just like to get up and get my song on. So, good morning. Today is Micah, and Micah is the prophet with the promise. The prophet with the promise. And this morning, and by the way, it's noisy outside. I'm in a hotel, and it's like gonna be busy this morning, but don't worry, we're good. And this song is "Humbly with Your God," and many of you may have been exposed to some version of song that He has told you, "Oh man, what is good and what the Lord requires of you," and that's a good. Oh, gee, I forgot to put the version on there. I think this is NASB. But anyways, enough talk. Come on, let's sing. Does the Lord take delight in thousands of rams, in 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I present my firstborn from my rebellious acts, the fruit of my body, for the sin of my soul, for the sin of my soul? Does the Lord take delight in thousands of rams, in 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I present my firstborn for my rebellious acts, the fruit of my body, for the sin of my soul, for the sin of my soul? He has told you, oh man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. To walk humbly with your God. Does the Lord I think I'll just end it there. Good morning. In case you're wondering what this old guy with the bad hair is doing, this is Sing the Word, where we bring life. We bring new songs made up from old scripture. And I'm not talking about old, I'm talking about ancient scripture. But it's alive today. It's alive, and it means something to anyone. Whosoever will receive, will read, will pick it up and just go with it. So today we are talking about Micah. Micah 6 verses 7 through 8. Pretty sure this is New American Standard or New King James. I forget. It might be New King James. But anyways, this is something that we as Christians we're not intimately acquainted with sacrificing. And I'm not talking about, I'm going to give up, coffee for a day. I'd fall asleep. No, I'm talking about taking your farm animals that you have raised from a whelp or whatever animal it is, or a calf, and you take your best animal and you take it to the priest and you say, okay, that's it, he's done, I've sinned and I need to give a sacrifice. And this is a very common practice back in the day. And when they used to have the temple, it was just like clockwork. There was people lined up, and I'm sure that, trust me, I sin a lot, and I'm trying not to. I can't even imagine what the people of Israel had to deal with in their lives. But anyways, this is talking about the idea of sacrifice, and there's 3 different sacrifices talked about. Let's talk about rams for a second. So in a herd, usually you have a bunch of sheep, you have some rams, and the rams kind of give, life to new little baby sheep. But in this case, it's a question. Does the Lord take delight in thousands of rams? Like, does he see this big pile of rams somewhere, dead ram carcasses? Or maybe, 1,000 or thousands of barbecues? I mean, this is an interesting question. Does the Lord take delight in thousands of rams? And when you look at that, it's kind of interesting, because in the Old Testament, it usually talked about, personal sacrifices. So it's like, you give up, a dozen doves or 14 doves, or you give your most select lamb or ram or whatever you got. But in this case, if you look at it from an overall perspective, thousands of rams, that's a lot of sacrifice. That's a lot of people taking their livestock, giving it to the priest and letting them sacrifice it on the altar and then cook it. And I'm thinking, man, thousands. That's incredible. And a ram is not a small animal. It's actually pretty big. So here are all these rams, and is God looking down saying, man, that's a good pile of rams? It's a question. Let's keep going. 10,000 rivers of oil. I do not even understand how you can get oil out of an olive seed, okay? Or out of an olive. I don't understand how it works, but somehow they were able to extract oil out of things like olives, and I'm looking at that like, I don't even know if I could make a bucket of oil, and here's 10,000 rivers of oil. And that was one of the items that God asked the Israelites to sacrifice, is their store of oil. They wanted to have them, give that up. Shall I present my firstborn? Now, this wasn't a very common practice, but Abraham in the desert brought his son, his first son, Isaac. And Isaac was out in the wilderness with his dad, and God told Isaac, sacrifice your son. And he happened to be his firstborn. Now, I can't condone this idea at all in any way, shape, or form. So please, this is not a avocation to sacrifice your firstborn child. And this was what God told Abraham to do. Take Isaac out in the desert and build an altar and sacrifice him, a human being. And the idea in the end was not for Isaac to die, but was for Abraham's heart to be broken over his sin and to learn how to obey God. And he did, which is crazy. Now, I'm sure this is a very sarcastic, shall I present my firstborn for my rebellious acts, the fruit of my body, for the sin of my soul. Gosh, that's poetic. That is just poetic. And it's like, how can I get rid of the sin of my soul? And the answer comes in verse 8. So all that was verse 7. Now here comes verse 8. He has told you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. So 3 things. So here are three sacrifices. Does the Lord take delight in thousands of rams, 10,000 rivers of oil, or the firstborn? Now, he uses a word here, or they translate the word here, present my firstborn. And I don't know if they actually meant sacrifice, but for whatever it's worth, basically you're cutting yourself off with your son, however you do that, your firstborn. So these are the 3 potential options. And then Micah, revealed by God, tells them, do justice, love kindness, walk humbly. Those are the 3 things. Now, I'm running out of time, but I'm going to try to look at the do justice. And this is an idea that when there is a decision to be made, there are 2 kinds of decisions, just and unjust. Pretty simple. So do you want to do an unjust decision or a just decision? Do you want to do justice, do justly? Or do you want to do unjustly? Okay, I think you get the point. You want to do justly. And just like that, we are done. You're going to have to look up kindness and walk humbly with your God. Even that's the name of the song. I didn't get there. But as you know, this is Sing the Word. Today we were talking about Micah 6. Not just 8, but 7 and 8. And I love the fact that Micah contrasts 3 sacrifices with 3 acts of obedience that God calls us to do. Do justly, love mercy, walk humbly with your God. Love kindness or mercy. Take your pick. As you know, I usually broadcast every day, but I've had a rough couple last days, and I'm just glad I'm here this morning doing my thing. I love you guys, as you know. I love my 3 favorite fans, or 5, or whoever's out there. And I just pray that you would admonish one another with psalms, hymns, spiritual songs. Look, 3 psalms, hymns, spiritual songs. Look, I love 3s. It's so cool. Sing with grace in your hearts to the Lord. Sing the word. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly. We will see you tomorrow.